Should you buy Netflix stock? So this stock is up 40% just this year alone and over 150% over the last 12 months. So the big question is, where can this stock go from here? More specifically, can this stock hit a share price of $600? Let's find out. So before I jump into the 4Ms, I'd like to give you a brief history of the company. So Netflix was founded in 1997 by Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph. It was the disruptor to the video industry. I was so used to going to Blockbuster and Family Video as a kid, but this was the new thing in the market, mailing DVDs. Now, the original pricing model was you pay a fee for each DVD. It actually led up to 1999 when they introduced the subscription model, so you could pay a set fee per month for X amount of DVDs. That was a smart play. Then leading up to 2002, so 5 years after founding the company, they went public at, get this, $1 per share, which for those of you that have watched some of the other videos, I do hint at being very careful around penny stocks. Any stock that's $5 or less, that's $5 US dollars, that's a penny stock. Be very careful. The reason is most stocks that go public at that price, very few institutions have confidence and they don't really move the price more than $5. But anyway, went public that same year. Randolph, the co-founder, he actually left the company. When a company goes public, that's a big liquidity event. So the founders and any early investors, they get a big chunk of change in their pockets. So that's what happened there. He got to separate from the company and go work on other things. So Reed Hastings continued driving forward. Let's fast forward here to 2007. This was a big milestone. This is when they introduced streaming. For those of you that remember when Netflix first came out, the streaming platform was not pretty. It was not that reliable, but they were thinking long term that we got to shift away from mailing DVDs to people. So this was a smart play. Then this leads up to 2010. Finally, the share price breaks out past $10. So that's about 8 years later. It's at a decent price where large institutions start to get more involved. That same year, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. They decided not to go down the streaming path and pretty much got outpaced. There's a fun documentary on Netflix about Blockbuster. It's really about the last location, which is in Bend, Oregon. It's a good documentary. You should check that out. All right, let's keep going here. 2011, they tried to separate the DVD service from the subscription model, gave it a different name called Quickster, and that didn't really pan out or have a good feel with the customers. So they were like, nope, we're just going to keep this simple. It's going to just be DVDs and services under Netflix, no other funny names for this business. This leads up to 2013. This was a big milestone. Their first original series or big hit of a series was House of Cards, and that proved to be very successful. See, what Netflix was doing up until this point is they were paying other companies to have their content on the platform. You probably remember when Marvel movies were on Netflix. Well, Netflix has to pay a fee to Marvel, and what that does is that lowers the profit margins for Netflix, but you can create higher profit margins if you actually produce your own content. And again, House of Cards proved to be successful. And then two other shows that were fast follows were Orange is the New Black and Stranger Things. So that's where original content really started to pick up momentum. This leads up to 2019. Netflix starts to see the fears of other companies out there, such as HBO and Amazon. And then this leads up to 2020 when they had a big inflection point with subscribers. A lot of people staying at home, work from home, a lot more subscriptions in the platform from there. So I'll stop there about the company history. Now let's jump over to the 4Ms. We'll start with that math part of investing. So we'll jump right into Tykr. So you can see that Netflix has a summary of on sale, which is great. It scores 67 out of 100 and margin of safety of 89%. So the score is the overall strength, the financial strength of a company, and the margin of safety is upside potential. Drilling into these numbers here, the share price as of the recording of this video is $424. Fair value is $1,500. So what we do is we calculate the EPS growth rate year over year and quarter over quarter to determine what it will be in 10 years. So this share price, we're projecting it to be $1,500 in 10 years. The question is, can it hit $15 in 10 years? I think Most of us would say absolutely. Um, but with this in mind, if you guys are interested, Tykr is open source. You can actually go to tykr.com. There's an education tab. And then if you just scroll down, you can see calculations. You could literally, we tell people all the time, you can go create your own version of Tykr, but we still hope you stay with us. But in summary, we believe in transparency. You guys should be able to do this on your own. And we have a course called Stock Investing for Beginners, which actually teaches you how to invest without Tykr. It's just Tykr saves us a lot of time. So those are the financials. They're looking really solid. We can jump over to some of the other tabs here. You really only need the Tykr rating because that's the algorithm. Again, open source that really powers Tykr. But the other tabs here have things like analyst ratings, what are other analysts saying about the stock and where is it going. On the financials tab, we can see the revenue is increasing year over year. Then we have our net income and EPS. Again, that EPS is what really drives that margin of safety. It's a little less than 2021, but much, much higher than the previous years. And that's why it's saying that margin of safety is 89%. So with the first M, we can say that that box is checked. Math part is looking really good, but we don't want to stop there. We need to also look at the meaning, moat, and management. So let's keep moving. So with the meaning, Netflix actually has a lot more revenue streams than most people realize. So we're all familiar with the subscription model. That's that B2C play. Their prices are in the States are standard with ads, which is $6.99 a month. Then the basic is $9.99. Then standard is $15.49 and premium is $19.99. Their prices are, I think they change them every year or two. But also keep in mind, Netflix has different prices in different countries. So depending on where you're at, you'll probably see different prices here. But that's really a key driver. That's their main revenue stream. But check this out. They have a lot of B2B revenue, which is really important. You have, and I'll just pause here for a second, international expansion is something that really separates Netflix from its competitors. There's a lot of companies out there like Amazon, Disney, and Apple. They produce good content, but it's really specific to the US because the companies are based in the US. What Netflix does is they have different production companies in different parts of the world. We've seen some great content come out of South Korea, Squid Game, for example. Also, India has a lot of great production being done there, Bollywood, and there's other places around the world that they have their own Netflix production companies. We'll talk about that in a moment. But that global footprint is, again, that really separates Netflix from the competitors. Here's something else. This is another revenue stream, original content licensing. So what this means is there are other platforms and companies that will pay Netflix to have shows and movies on their platform. We were kind of on the receiving end of that situation for a while with Netflix was paying other companies, again, going back to Marvel, a fee to license the content to actually show it on their platform. In this case, they flipped that equation, maintain the high ground, and other companies, this is other businesses, pay Netflix to have that content on their platform. That's a great place to be. That moves us into a revenue stream that's the B2B play, which is so important when you complement your B2C. We like, in summary, we like businesses that have a nice variety of B2C and B2B revenue streams. So original content licensing is big. Advertising. So I have to drill into this a little bit. So a year ago, I did a video on Netflix talking about the importance of adding advertising and locking down passwords. If they can do those two things alone, that's going to make a big difference on this business and the stock. And here we are a year later, they did both. And the share price is going through the roof. Now, with advertising, I was looking at Hulu, which has a fraction of the viewers on the platform, but they generated, get this, about $4 billion a year just on advertising. So I'm like, okay, so Netflix has like 5 times the number of subscribers. Theoretically, you should be able to get 5 times as much revenue from advertising as Hulu. Really smart play there. Advertising, you're charging the businesses, and you're not putting the burden on consumers like you and I and charging them more money. It's a great place to be if you can also introduce that, again, business to business revenue stream. Also, they still have DVD by mail. I was surprised by that. I thought everybody went to streaming, but I drilled into that to understand the why. There are people actually that still like this because not every movie and every TV show is available via streaming. So that's why some people still pay for the DVDs, apparently. But unfortunately, they are getting rid of the DVD service in September of 2023. All right, so moving ahead, they also have partnerships with telecom companies. Same thing, a telecommunication company will pay Netflix to show their content. That's another B2B play. Partnerships with other streaming devices like smart TVs. I think some of you probably remember this is specific to Samsung TVs. You'd take out the remote control, you'd see that Netflix button right in the middle of the remote. I think I still have one of those remotes. And that's a perfect example. So Samsung is paying Netflix for that partnership there. Other smaller revenue streams I have to mention here: merchandise sales, which is clothing, accessories, collectibles, theater releases. I did not realize this. Like there will be a big enough Netflix movie, and there will be certain theaters that pick that up for a limited duration. So Netflix makes money on that. And then you can keep going here. There's soundtracks, documentaries, books. I did not realize that, and even live events. So that's really the summary of the business model. Again, nice balance between B2C subscriptions. That's what you and I are so familiar with. But they also have a lot of B2B revenue. That's a smart place to be. So in summary, the meaning of the business is really, really strong. So we're checking 2 boxes in a row. Let's move on to the third box, which is the moat. This is how the business compares to the competition. So we'll start at the top. I put Apple on the list. In Tykr, they have a summary as on sale, score of 61 out of 100, and margin of safety of 75%. There's a lot of different revenue streams in Apple, so it's not like a direct competitor, but they have Apple Plus, their streaming platform, which has a lot of good content on it. But in this case, I'm like, yeah, there's a little overlap there, so good enough for me to be a competitor, so that's why they're on the list. Then you have Amazon. Amazon is actually overpriced. Their score is 39 out of 100, not looking too good, and their margin of safety is 0%. I know there's a lot of you that invest in Amazon. I'll probably do an Amazon review here soon. We shouldn't be in a position like, hey, let's just go sell all of our shares in Amazon. I'm not saying that. Weaker financials at the moment, but again, we always like to look at that meaning, moat, and management. That's a topic for another day, but Amazon is still a strong business. And that Prime platform, they do have a lot of good content. Reacher, probably one of my favorites in the last year, coming onto the Amazon Prime platform. Okay, moving ahead to Disney, an obvious one. You have Disney Plus, but they are overpriced. Scores 45 and 100, and margin of safety is 0%. So not stacking up nicely against Netflix. And Disney, they don't put out as much content as Netflix, but they do have quality movies if you're a big fan of Marvel or Star Wars, Pixar, etc. All right, then I was kind of running out of ideas here for a fourth and fifth competitor. So Comcast, I put on the list. They are overpriced, score of 39 out of 100, margin of safety is 0%. They're not a threat in this case. And then you have Warner Brothers Discovery, which is kind of a conglomerate and a lot of different turnover issues going on in that company in itself. But, you have HBO Max. They are watch 61 out of 100 score and margin of safety of 0%. So not a big threat there. HBO, love the content, was Game of Thrones fan, recently watched Last of Us, just finished up, or actually almost done with Succession, which has been cool. Finally bringing that to a close. Don't want to overstay your welcome. But anyway, HBO does have consistent track record of great TV. But in summary, when you really look at the competition here, Netflix is definitely the stronger business from a content production standpoint. And let's get into the details on that a little bit. So scrolling down, here's a comparison of the subscriber volumes on the platform. So Netflix has 232 million. Amazon has 200. Disney Plus is 157. HBO is 96. Paramount Plus and Showtime together are 62. Then you have Hulu at 40. I talked about that advertising play. 232, we're over 5 times as many subscribers as Hulu. So there's just a no-brainer to add advertising to the model. Then you have Apple TV Plus at 25 million subscribers, and Peacock, NBC's platform, at 21. Then we jump into the footprint. How many countries or territories have access to the platform? So Amazon actually has the biggest at 200, but Netflix is at 190, Apple TV at 107, Showtime at 60, Peacock at 60, HBO at 50, Disney Plus at 35, Paramount Plus at 10, and Hulu at 3. And then we get down to this list here. This is, again, the original content, where it's produced. So obviously US being the first. Then we have Canada, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Australia, India. I'm really going to emphasize India because of the Bollywood play. And then we have South Korea. Not just Squid Game, but there are more shows coming out that are produced from South Korea that are actually really quality productions. Every time I watch a trailer, I'm like, wow, their production has really leveled up. Then we have Japan, Mexico, and Spain. Now let's talk about the budget comparison. So Disney actually has the highest budget from a content production standpoint, which was in 2022 was 33 billion. Netflix was 17 billion. Amazon was 16 billion. Apple TV was 6.5 and HBO was about 2. Now with Disney, we have to keep in mind they have those big flagship movies and TV shows. You think of, anything that's Marvel related or Star Wars, these massive budgets, the actors and actresses definitely cost a lot of money. Netflix isn't going to pay that much per movie or TV show. They're really good with production efficiency, and they're all about producing higher volumes of content. It's still quality, but they are definitely putting out a lot more content. Again, it's really focused on not just the US, but around the globe. So again, to summarize the Moat here, that's the third M. We're looking really good. Netflix, you can check that box there. Now let's jump into the fourth M here. This is the management. There are a lot of people out there that kind of disregard who the CEO is. In many cases, they don't know who the CEO is, what their track record is, what they've done in the past. It is helpful because if a company goes through tough times and if you have a good CEO with a track record of building businesses and increasing share prices in the past, there's a high probability they can do it in the future. So here's what's happening at Netflix regarding the C-suite. So the founder, Reed Hastings, is stepping down. He was actually co-CEO with Ted Sarandos. Now, I will say this, I don't always love a co-CEO situation because you can kind of butt heads if you're stepping on each other's toes. In this case, because of those various revenue channels, this has been a smart play for a while. So you had Hastings and you had Sarandos really separating the responsibilities there. Now it's Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters as co-CEO, and Hastings has stepped into the chairman role. This is sometimes what happens is a CEO will step down, move in the chairman role, which really just means they're showing up at board meetings, helping answer questions, really throw flags on a play if they don't like what's going on, but they have a lot more free time to go do other things in life. But in this case, what is the difference between the two roles of these two CEOs? So Sarandos has been a key driver behind original content. That's really been his focus, and not just in the US, but global. So you can really thank him for that. And then Peters, his focus has been on the B2B plays. So advertising, you can thank him for that. And a lot of those licensing deals, where we're generating a lot of revenue from other businesses, that's important there. So that's very cut and dry and clear on how you separate these two CEOs. So I think these two guys are doing a great job. I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit further. We have our Glassdoor ratings at 4.3 company rating. This is 4.3 out of 5. And the CEO approval of 91%. I like to see a Glassdoor rating of 4.0 or higher, and Glassdoor CEO approval of 80% or higher. So this is really good. We can't always get Glassdoor ratings on companies around the globe, but what I like to do is I like to go to Glassdoor because I can really see the truth. What are these people saying about leadership? How's the company run? And in this case, management is doing a great job. So all 4 M's, check out. We're looking really good. I'll keep moving here. I just want to touch on the news, and then I'll give you my thoughts on where the share price is going. Now, with advertising in play, 10% of Netflix revenue is from advertising alone. That tells us that was a very smart play, adding advertising to the business model. Again, going back a year ago, I said, hey, Netflix, you got to be adding advertising. Hulu did it, and the revenue continued to increase because you're really generating the revenue, not from the consumers like you and I, it's from the businesses. I also have to drill into the password crackdown. That was rumored for a while. A lot of people were afraid. And fortunately, there hasn't been big backlash against Netflix because of this. Just to give a little context here, there were over 100 million households sharing passwords with other people, their friends and family. And in many cases, Netflix was saying there are people sharing with like 25, 30 or more other people. That's just ridiculous. So what they did is they announced, this was May 23rd, announced that, hey, you can no longer share passwords. You can, with one of the plans, this is in US dollars, you can pay $9.99, or with the standard at $15.49 or the premium at $19.99, you can add another person for $7.99. So $2 difference, end of the day. But such a smart play, adding that within 24 hours of that announcement, there are 100,000 signups, and we're just getting warmed up because there's a lot of great content coming out soon that people do not want to miss, which means they're going to see continued increase in subscriptions around the globe. But to take a step back, you really look at the advertising play and the password crackdown. Smart play, Netflix. Really appreciate you doing that. All right, I have to touch on a few shows and a movie I'm looking forward to on Netflix, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So Stranger Things Season 5, we'll see part of it this summer. And then at the end of 2023, and I think beginning of 2024, I think we'll see the maybe the last episode or the last 2 episodes. And these episodes, if you guys are fans, you know they're going to be like 2.5, maybe in 3 hours long, like the previous season. So very excited for that. Then we have Extraction 2, which I know is already out. Chris Hemsworth, solid action film. And then something that a lot of people are not talking about, but we should see a trailer here very soon, which is Rebel Moon. On my screen here, you can see the trailer poster. This is directed by Zack Snyder. He was the director of 300, Watchmen, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League Snyder Cut 4-hour version, and he has a huge fan base. And this, just to give you context on what this movie's about, is actually going to be 2 parts. It's a space sci-fi action film. A group of rebels are pretty much, think of like Dune. Anybody out there seen Dune? It's like you have this giant empire taking over different planets, and then you have this rebel group that's fighting the empire, if you will. So it's an underdogs type story. Of course, Zack Snyder's take on it. And with this, there's actually going to be 2 versions. There's going to be the more PG, family-friendly version, and then he's going to have his director's cut. I don't know if he's calling director's cut, but it's going to be more a rated R version. It's kind of like, a lot of people don't know this, but Batman vs. Superman has 2 versions. There's the PG-13, and then there's the rated R version. But these 2 movies, his 2 movies here, 2 parts of Rebel Moon, should drive a lot more subscribers. Very much looking forward to that. So the big question is, from the beginning of the video, can this stock hit $600 per share? If we jump into Tykr and go back to the chart, you can see the 5-year chart. November of 21, they actually hit $687 a share. So the answer is absolutely, this stock can get back to 600, and I believe it will get there in the next year or 2. Now, in summary, the competition, I will say, is for second place. Netflix is just separated itself from the competition because of that advertising play and the password crackdown. You have Amazon, HBO, Disney, and the list goes on, all competing for second place at this point. What they're doing right now, because of the increase in revenue and where things are going, especially Ted Sarandos has specifically said they're going to take this extra revenue and apply it right back into content creation. It's going to create the snowball effect, which is what we want to see, is great content, not just from the US, but around the world. That's going to bring in more subscribers from other countries. That's that low-hanging fruit. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Go ahead and comment below. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like it, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to learn more about investing, go ahead and check out Tykr. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.